On November 25th of 2025, the alert level was raised at the volcanic fissure system that comprises much of the Azores island of Terceira, rising from V2 to V3. However, the unrest is not occurring across the entire lengthy fissure system, but rather at the very westernmost edge of it, specifically from beneath where two lava domes erupted in 1761 to the east, to beneath the summit of the Santa Barbara stratovolcano to the west, which is also at a recently raised alert level of V3. By the way, here's the alert level system I've been referencing. Fresh magma had been recently confirmed underneath the far western portion of the Terceira Fissural Volcanic System at 2 miles depth below sea level in October, and since September, the number of volcanic earthquakes on the island has continued to increase. This has occurred alongside a continued, albeit seemingly low rate of ground deformation, further suggesting the underground movement or at least accumulation of magma. However, since this is not a rapid uplift and no notable changes have occurred in terms of gas emissions or geothermal vents, the risk of an eruption in the near-term future, in my opinion, should be zero. After all, the Terceira Volcano has been in an unrest cycle since early 2021 with largely slow month-over-month changes, slow implied underground magma movement or accumulation, and relatively slow month-over-month increasing and decreasing activity, all things considered. And the current month's activity is still weaker in my opinion than witnessed between March and May 2024. While yes, the number of earthquakes this month that have been felt across much of the island is somewhat high, in other words magnitude 3 or higher, these have not seemingly caused any damage and do not seemingly signal a rapid escalation in volcanic activity. While this could be quite wrong, here is my current model for Terceira's ongoing unrest since the beginning of 2021. A deep intrusion of magma occurred, eventually reaching the bottom of Santa Barbara's magma chamber. This chamber thereafter began to fill, with magma eventually also intruding westwards into the plumbing associated with part of the Sorretta submarine ridge area. That magma ceased moving westwards, with all of the fresh molten rock then building in the main magma chamber, and then all of this would begin to cool. A new batch of magma then began splitting in two directions at the bottom of the magma chamber, with the volume of magma intruding into the plumbing associated with the very westernmost section of Terceira's Fissural Volcanic System. By October 2025, magma ascended to 2 miles below sea level, with magma having taken 17 months to ascend 2 kilometers, in other words very slow motion. Since then, it seems that the magma supply going into Santa Barbara's magma chamber instead of then heading to the east has increased. This generated an increased number of earthquakes that has continued to remain elevated in November 2025, although it has not seemingly increased at an exponential rate. With that being said, earthquake rates in November nearly doubled after November 19th when compared to the rest of the month, which was noted by several locals who contacted me. Despite all of this, magma is still not currently at shallow enough depths in my opinion to trigger an eruption in the near future, and besides it is moving incredibly slowly. The most likely outcome, in my opinion, is still no eruption occurring during the current volcanic unrest episode, regardless of how long it ends up lasting for, with this magma most likely to stall and solidify at depth. Only 3 out of 10 prior historical volcanic unrest episodes resulted in eruption on the island of Terceira or offshore of it, so there is still no reason to panic yet. During volcanic unrest periods at many world volcanoes, unrest often undergoes multiple cycles of increasing and decreasing activity, and do remember that the vast majority of magmatic intrusions do not result in a volcanic eruption. However, what is a bit more likely are for more magnitude 3 and possibly even magnitude 4 quakes to strike beneath the area experiencing volcanic unrest. Magnitude 4, especially upper range quakes of that magnitude, could theoretically cause some limited minor damage to very specific structures, but that is just pure speculation on my part. Stay tuned for more updates. As a final note, I would like to thank my new YouTube channel member, Mark1638, for supporting my work.